Welcome back. Now let's have a quick look at what's happening in the city this morning, and a good place to start is the airport city, where near the Shell, traffic is yet to kick into gear. It's looking very, very quiet, backing up, well, going back all the way to the polo grounds. Very civilized. You can get through that as quickly as you need to and get straight to work. Let's have a look at another area, perhaps the Tema end of the Accra-Tema motorway. Or perhaps we'll do Gifford Road first. Gifford Road is looking serene. In fact, there's more traffic coming from the 37 end towards Birmingham than the other way around, which is atypical for a Monday morning. But again, pretty good for those of you who need that stretch today. Right, moving on. Tete Kwashi. This is the big one usually, and this morning it's looking pretty calm. It's yet to start backing up towards Shiashi and beyond. So again, take the opportunity. If you're leaving home now, take the opportunity to get through it before it gets manic. All right, let's do two more before we go. And yeah, here's the Tema end of the Accra-Tema motorway. And this morning again, looking pretty civilized, pretty calm. There are more cars coming off it than going onto it, the big circle. So that's always a good sign. All right, and finally, oh, well, okay, we normally would have brought you the ring road, but we apologize, we weren't able to do that. I think our technology might be letting us down this morning, but you can go to traffic.com.gh to learn a bit more about what's happening in the city. Now, I promised you a special guest. I never fail. Inimadu joins us from the Super Morning Show. How nice to see you.
It's lovely to see you too at this time of the morning, isn't it?
Indeed, and thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you for having me.
Inimwa will be joining us for a few days, right?
Yes, I will.
Roland is still not back. Mama B is on leave. Oh, cheeky woman.
I know.
She's left me all alone.
Well, you have
except
me
for
now.
you, exactly.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Right then, so we'll run through the headlines and then we'll settle for some stories. Now, I have the Ghanaian Times, the Daily Guide, the Daily Dispatch, the Daily Heritage, and the Publisher. What have you got?
I have the Daily Statesman, the Herald, the Observer, the Finder, and the Daily Graphic. Right
then, so I'll get through these real quick. Ghanaian Times first, front page. Don't smuggle subsidized fertilizer, President appeals, and asks farmers to help stamp out the practice. Also, pay taxes to help realize Ghana beyond aid. That's the finance minister speaking. Traders and drivers rejecting upgraded cedi notes. And we followed due diligence in 2.5 million Ghana cedi investment with Brooks Assets. That's according to the TTU. Okay, back page, a couple of development stories here. Oh, sports stories actually this morning. Partey wins top swag gong. Congratulations to all the winners from this, on the Sports Writers Association of Ghana Awards. Liberty and Hearts win, Kotoko lose, and that is the big summary of Ghana's football over the weekend. Daily Guide next. 2016 election rigged, according to former President Mahama. Chris Atto's wife shot to death. That was a tragic story that came our way over the weekend. President and Vice President salute women. And Free SHS gets 1.7 billion Ghana cedis in 2009. So that's almost double the original estimates. And stop smuggling fertilizers. Nana is also on the front page. Back page, more sports, including Navarrete whips Dogbe again. It's got to hurt. And Partey is swag's best. Also, City edge Liverpool to clinch title. And Milo under 13 Champions League launched. Dispatch next, and banner headline this morning, Radio Gold and Radio XYZ respond, we had been in touch with NCA all the time. Both of them say this. University students to pay more fees from 2019 to 2020 academic year, and lawyers and big people do not pay taxes but shout the loudest on social media. Guess who's saying that? Ken Ofuriata. Ayeka. All right, on the back page, Radio Gold and Radio, details of that story I just mentioned to you about the shutdown of those two stations. Daily Heritage is the next paper I'm going to rifle through, and man kills man over puppy is the banner headline. My goodness. Also, Lucy quits normalization. That's the most difficult sentence to ever be said by anyone. Lucy Quits Normalization Committee. Hey. Right. Wife stones husband to death. Murder suspects issuing threats at Oshiyi. I hope I've said that right. And horrible, horrible picture of the body of one of the victims. I don't know why we still publish bodies of victims on the front pages of newspapers. Also, a shaman to end open defecation by 2020. Well, we've got a few months to go. And the publisher has these. Tiwa eyes IGP job, says she is capable. Okay. Oti voting for NPP in 2020, Dambai chief declares. Hey, we've started doing this thing again. Drivers reject 199,000 Ghana City lorry station due to lack of toilet facilities. That's a very good reason for rejecting a lorry station.
How much did the lorry station cost again?
199,000 Ghana cedis.
So 200,000 Ghana cedis spent on a lorry station without a bathroom.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So I mean, Charlie, they made the station. They made the thing. 200,000 cedis
and then
worth
forgot
of
to put
station.
toilets.
Yeah. So I mean, besides facilities like that, what else would go into a lorry station? An office? Right?
I don't know. I mean, maybe
benches,
a canteen,
the canteen,
perhaps a room to rest.
Yeah, but not the food that will go in the canteen.
No,
just
of
the
course
room.
not. Just the room.
Indeed. That's it. 200 grand, and they couldn't spare a few thousand cedis on the back of it.
I thought that would be obviously one of the first things that they would do. I mean,
not this one.
Yeah.
Not this one.
Yeah.
All right. Chief of Staff mourns Joe Donko. Peace FM's Mefia Konedu to be buried on July 20. She's a hero. Such a big icon in the media space. Banks in better shape after Bank of Ghana cleanup. Kenu Furiata says, yes, well, I wonder if the bank customers agree.
I wonder. I'm going to start with a daily graphic, and on the front page, government won't reduce producer price of cocoa. President is assuring farmers. Also, Savannah Regional Minister orders closure of Chinese timber firms. The Mirror has been honoring Reverend Dr. Mrs. Markway and others on Mother's Day, as we did yesterday at the Joy FM lunch with Mama. When you were there as well,
It was
a really awesome
What a great
event,
time we had.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I think we had more fun than our patrons.
I wonder whether we we should have said that out loud. They won't invite us next time.
We had a great time, yes. The Daily Statesman is reporting, put your money where your mouth is. Finance Minister slams professionals, big misses for failing to pay income tax. And he's been talking about the fact that if the Better Ghana agenda is going to work, then it's important that we pay our taxes. Akufo-Addo came for ordinary Ghanaians, that's according to the Zongo chief, and he's commending President on pro-poor policies. The Herald has quite a few headlines. Tertiary Assembly members plot MCE's removal over incompetence. Shraj threatens to drag NPP national chairman before court as he runs from probe into 275 buses saga. NDC's Ofosu Ampofo never met the CID boss, and Rollins dances around corruption, lawlessness and impunity under Akufo-Addo. The Ghanaian Observer, Ghana's economic turnaround, Akufo-Addo on course, the finance minister is assuring. Zongo chief hails government's far-reaching policies. Governments could rake in 3 billion Ghana cedis through enforcement of bylaws. There's another one here. I have no blood relation with President Akufo-Addo. That's according to COP Tiwa Ado Dankwa. The very last paper that I am doing is The Finder, and it says 2018 interest on loans cost 21.1 billion Ghana cedis, and this represents 55% of tax revenues. That's according to the finance minister. Again, help fight fertilizer smuggling. That story on most of the front pages. Timeline for NCA Radio Gold saga since 1995, and so the Finder is breaking down that story on page 11. And Forestry Commission rejects rainforest loss claim. If you remember last week in the papers, there was a story about how we are gradually losing our rainforest and not saying anything about it. So the Finder's carrying that story.
Right, okay, so let's settle for a couple of stories in the paper. And I think I'd like to touch on this one real quick. Put your money where your mouth is. Finance Minister slams professionals and big business for failing to pay income tax. And this is not the first time Kenu Furiata has said this. In fact, there was a time when he said, he was even more harsh about it, that look, if you want to complain about what government is doing, pay your tax. If you don't pay tax, keep your mouth shut. basically, you know. And I remember there was a bit of a backlash when he said that, but he hasn't shied away from the topic. This time he's elaborated. I want to read what he said really quickly. He says, often when we talk about the informal sector, we look at the woman who sells coffee brookman at the roadside, or the one operating out of the container, or the hawker in the street. But really, as far as the taxman is concerned, wearing a suit and having a business card are not the stuff that qualify you as being part of the formal sector. So he's saying, although members of the professional classes have ample resources to contribute to nation building, many refuse to do so by not paying income tax. And here's the quote that made the headline in the other paper. There are many lawyers out there, accountants, respectable consultants, PhD holders, big businessmen who simply refuse to declare their incomes. Now, I don't know what you think about it, but my first thought when I read this was, so the GRA, which ministry does it fall under again? Right? I mean, this falls squarely in your lap. Don't come and complain about a problem that is your job to fix. Okay? So if indeed people are, and this is evading tax, not avoiding it. If you're due, if you must pay and you don't pay, you are evading tax. Yes. Okay? So if you have people in this country evading tax, and you,
complaining about it.
Yes, however loftily you sit, are able to see them clearly enough to come and tell us about it and whinge about it, then why? Why? Go and fix it. Arrest these lawyers, arrest these accountants, because it is illegal to evade tax. So arrest them. Why are you moaning to us?
It is, but it's also the culture of a lot of our politicians. I mean, we find when we interview some people on the morning show, for example, you hear some of these ministers complaining about things that they should be able to do. I sat at a round table a few weeks ago with the Deputy Minister for Gender and Social Welfare, you know, and whilst we were complaining about the fact that we don't have enough safe homes and stuff, you know, she was empathizing with us. She was like, you know, I really understand, you know, and it's really difficult, you know, but God will do it. And I'm like,
my goodness.
Yeah, you know, so it's a certain culture that we seem to have, but to be fair, I think it's also important that they talk, because they do have to talk and perhaps appeal to our conscience as Ghanaians to do what is right, because we do have a part as well to play in.
Well, I think breaking the law is not a matter of appealing to conscience.
But what about the foreign companies, Kojo? Because
you see, again, all of these things that we say, foreign companies are, you see, with foreign companies, it's not that they are dodging the tax man, but the tax man says, get out of jail free.
Give them the card,
yeah. So in essence, it is a worse problem. And it's being caused by our leaders. I mean, they feel that they can't strike a deal with a foreign company unless it comes with massive
sort of,
tax exemptions. And I wonder whether that's the reality, because we've been to other countries. We've seen how companies, which make profit in these other countries, by the way, how they pay taxes and how they pay large taxes. They are sometimes the ones responsible for the provision of all infrastructure in whichever sector they are operating.
By the taxes that they're paying.
Absolutely. Yes. You know, so I am shocked at our position.
Perhaps we sell ourselves a little bit short.
Well, perhaps we haven't even considered the possibility that we have a negotiating position.
Yes.
You know, maybe it doesn't even occur to us that the resource is ours.
It is ours.
And somebody else wants it.
Yeah.
And we ought to be able to dictate terms like every other nation does.
Well, like every other negotiator does. Because so there's a story here that kind of got me sad this morning. You know, yesterday whilst we're celebrating mothers and stuff, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, again, has been advising mothers who have children with disability not to hide them and to neglect them. Over the course of this year, I would say maybe we've done about 4 stories in the newspapers of mothers who have, there was one mother who threw her son down a well. There was another mother who I think burned her son alive or buried him alive. There have been a few of those kinds of stories. Majority of these kids have disabilities, and the mothers have said that they cannot afford to look after them, and so they are having to do this. Now, I'm a mother, so I can imagine the the kind of painful decision making that you would have to go through to get to the point where you really feel like you cannot take care of your children and therefore you're going to get rid of them. This is what the ministry is saying. And in this article, they don't talk about what they can do as a ministry with our taxes again to support mothers you know, who have children with disabilities, especially single mothers. So you know that we don't have a very strong social welfare system. We don't have a very strong support system. And it's funny because out of the 200 and something SHSs, for example, there's only about 7 of them that actually cater to children with disabilities.
That's right.
And so when you look forward into the future of your child, you can see that the system is not set up to support. I'm not saying then that, of course, you know,
the option of
getting rid of them is there. But I'm saying that, you know, if the ministry is talking about it, then we also want to hear the ministry talk about how they're going to help and support the disabled in the community, and also enforcing laws that have to do with the disabled. Like, for example, making buildings accessible and all of those things, you know, as the rest of the world has been doing.
And anyway, I mean, it's a topic that is very difficult to broach sometimes.
Yes.
In this building.
Of course.
Let's be fair. Let's be fair. We could be a lot more accessible than we are.
We could, yes.
And before we challenge others to do so, we also need to challenge ourselves. But it doesn't change the fact that there are actual laws that say that we ought to make our facilities accessible to a certain degree.
Yes.
And we are not meeting those laws. We're not obeying those laws.
We're not.
So and so what's the solution here? Is somebody going to come and appeal to us and ask us, oh, please, kindly, you know.
Yeah, I think that sometimes the side of the government has lost some sort of moral authority to demand such things, because what they are supposed to be doing, they are not. And so therefore, how do you demand from somebody else that they do what they should be doing?
So that's where it has to begin.
So that's where it has to begin, yes.
All right, well, what else have you got?
So this morning I'm all about mental health as well. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And there's an article that caught my eye, a neglected health issue, mental health. So we know that 42% of Ghanaians have psychological problems. We also know that we don't have enough doctors and we don't have enough facilities for that. There's also not a lot of talk about it. There's also the stigma associated with it. A friend of mine had a baby a few months ago, and she was suffering from postpartum depression. And she's like, you know, she's been advised by so many people that she's spoken to find a prayer camp somewhere and go, you know. And of course, this is obviously, you know, the first point of referral is, you know, pray about it, you know, do this about it, but actually not dealing with the problem. And so it's a mental health is a big problem. You remember Dr. Akwesiose was speaking last week, and he was saying that they're going to, the Accra Psychiatric Hospital is going to have to go back to the cash and carry system, because the money has not been released for them yet. Yes. So difficult for them, and my heart goes out to them all the time.
You know, it's a pity. I mean, as a nation, we've all collectively decided that mental health care should be free. We've done that.
Yes,
we've decided that. But year on year, we just can't bring ourselves to decide to actually pay for it.
Right.
You know, as a nation, obviously, and it is a crying shame.
It is,
because it appears we think it's a problem that's far away from us, but almost half of us have this problem.
Yes.
Almost half of us have this problem. So how can we think it's far from us?
I know.
How can we think so?
You know what's really devastating about mental health as well, Kojo, is that once you can diagnose what is wrong with the patient, it's relatively easy to treat.
Yeah.
So we meet people who are suffering from paranoid schizophrenia, or they're bipolar, they're on their meds, and they're living relatively normal lives, as opposed to walking on the most days, as opposed to walking on the road half naked or naked. You know, so it's definitely something that can be contained if we just pay a little bit extra attention to it.
I mean, I remember in 2016, I did a story about the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. In fact, I got a tip from our colleagues in one of the other media houses, and I did this story about how they're struggling to pay their bills. Okay, they didn't ask for much to run the hospital for a year. They asked for 4 million cedis.
Wow.
Okay, to run an entire hospital.
Wow, Kojo.
And give free healthcare. Forgive me.
Sorry.
Frog in my throat. But, oh gosh.
Sorry.
Wow. This frog doesn't want me to talk about
the mental health.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all they needed, or that's all they asked for.
4 million CDs.
They got 400,000 CDs.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and that was dispersed in bits over a period of a year.
And if you're going to give us 400,000, at least give it to us in one big chunk. Absolutely. So that we can actually do something with it. Oh wow.
And I mean, so I mean, you've got quite a bit of experience in this field. So, what is the quick fix? Is there one?
Release the money. Because really, I mean, money is the answer to everything. It's the answer to meds, to food. You remember that last year they also carried the story about the fact that they weren't getting enough food and all of that. And so, yeah, so release the money, I'd say. I would say release the money. I would say because meds have to be bought, food has to be supplied. The thing about some of these drugs is that they have to be taken on a full stomach, or they have to be taken with a certain amount of food. There was a story in the newspaper the last year where some of these patients had said that they were not getting enough food, and so the drugs were actually kind of making them worse or making them feel not as good. And so it's really sad, but it's really just release the money. We're also hoping that, you know, maybe when donors come into the country, and also people get involved, you know, if you want to make donations, if you have some spare cash lying about. I think at this point we're kind of at the point where we are doing the whole kitwa bien suya. I'm sorry, my tree is terrible. So whatever you can do to support them would be great. You know, let's pay a little attention to them.
Let me ask you this. I mean, these prayer camps, right? Are they free?
That's a difficult one to answer.
I have a feeling that those who run it...
They are free on the surface.
Right.
But of course, you know, there's always the buying of substances. So obviously you must, for some of them, you must buy the holy water, you must buy the anointing oil, you must buy the handkerchief which has the power, you know, and stuff like that. So you definitely...
But they don't pay for boarding, like, I think, right?
Yeah, no, I think some of them are camps. The ones that I have seen are camps. So you go and you pitch your tent or whatever it is, or you can go and there's almost like a 24-hour prayer cycle. So you can just, you know, pray, put a little cloth on the floor, you know, sleep a bit and stuff. But for those who go and pitch camp there, they'll carry their student mattresses, you know, and find a little room. I think there's a small fee for maybe like 10 CDs, 15 CDs to be able to stay there. But I guess in their minds, it doesn't cost as much as... And of course, we're not taking away from the fact that God is able to heal. I think that it would be unfair if we took away from that. But there's also the reality, you know. I mean,
it's not even about reality. It's about God himself and how he instructs us
to behave.
You know, because if God is going to heal you, he's not going to appear in the sky and suddenly say, poof, you are healed. He's more likely to use the same laws of science that govern everything in this world to deliver his miracle. So sometimes I think we ought to be... I mean, I tell this story to my son all the time about this man who was drowning, and a boat came along and said, jump in and we'll say... And then the man said, no, God will save me. Oh. The boat went along, and a bigger one came along, and he said the same thing. No, don't worry, God will save me. Third one came, and he said the same thing, and then he drowned. Right. Got to heaven and said, God, why didn't you save me?
I sent you 3 boats.
Thank you.
Like, really?
All right, so it's as simple as that.
He actually got to heaven? Well, oh, God is so merciful,
I mean, he got an interview. He got an interview. I don't know if he got in. But, you know, it's exactly that same point. Yeah. That it's just the laws of science around us that will be used to deliver that miracle. So sometimes all we have to do is the logical thing. Take them to hospital.
Except when the logical thing, Kojo, when that door is a little bit shut because there's no money.
Funding. Yes. Indeed. So release the money.
Release the money, yes.
Ministry of Health, release the money. All right. Well, I think this is a good time for us to have a look at what's on myjoyonline.com. Browse through those stories real quick before sports comes along. But it's not yet ready to put up on the screens. So let me very quickly pick another story here. This is one that I caught sight of earlier. And it talks about how chiefs in the OT region are pledging fealty to the NPP over a year to the election. OT voting for NPP in 2020. This is a publisher. It's not a paper that I've ever reviewed. So in the absence of any sort of track record on which I can depend, I'm going to talk about this on the face of it. Okay. We know that chiefs do this.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we know that in the past chiefs have done this. Now, new regions have been created. We haven't got new chiefs. I mean, I'm not aware of any chieftaincy areas being created. So it's the same chiefs, same old people doing the same old thing. Okay, so in the past, this chief in Dambai, could he have pledged the entire Volta region to the NPP?
It's a strange story, and I'm struggling with it, especially because that region is really an NDC stronghold, isn't it? But then again, we can't run away from the influence that chiefs have on their people. And so anything that speaks, we're pledging this and we're pledging that, always kind of makes me nervous. Also because sometimes it's applied for development, isn't it?
Indeed. Although, I mean, let's be clear here. If a chief pledges a town, it does have a massive impact on the clansman, because in Ghana people are very, very respectful of their traditional rulers. Yes, I couldn't find the story.
I was just going to say, I mean, the publisher, what's going on with you guys this morning? So you have a front story, front page story, and it says page 6, and
it's
page
not there.
6,
it's not there.
It's not.
It's one of those treasure hunt stories. So the idea is that they want you to be very, very into searching for it.
It's actually no. I think it's us. I think. Oh, look! They moved that. They put the middle page. So instead of having page 6 at page 6, page 6 was in the middle page.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
So
Someone
there it is.
Mistake there. Okay. So yes, chiefs and people of Dambai traditional area have expressed appreciation to President Akufo-Addo and his government for the creation of Oti region. A highly elated Nana Kweku Beyeno, Omanhene of Dambai, and the Nifahene of the Chonke traditional area, I hope I've said this all right, in the Krachi East district, expressed his gratitude and that of his people when Vice President Dr. Bawumia called on him at his palace as part of his Ramadan tour to the Oti region. And this is what he says. This is his quote, according to the publisher. "We were in slavery until President Akufo-Addo came. We will thank the NPP and President Akufo-Addo with our thumbs in 2020. If we don't do that, it will mean we are ungrateful."
I wonder why he would say they were in slavery. Slavery to whom?
I wonder. Because they were part of the Volta region before they... So slavery to whom? Who? The Volta regional minister, maybe?
I have no idea.
Yeah. I can't work it out.
No, I can't. I can't. But we know how some of the chiefs feel about the fact that the regions have been divided in this way. They're looking forward to a lot more development and stuff like that. So maybe that's what he meant.
Okay.
But it's a bit dramatic, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. Yep.
All right, then. So let's have a quick look at myjoyonline.com. Let's see what's baking over there. And our first story there this morning is this one. Cocoa Road's construction to start this week after release of funds. Hey, these funds, they took some time.
Yes. They had been suspended for more than a year.
Right.
But they're back now, so we're thankful for that.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's have a look at this one too. Petroleum Commission urges diasporans to explore upstream opportunities. Now, it's interesting. Diasporans as a source of investment is an area that we haven't really paid enough attention to. There are many Ghanaians living abroad who would love to do business of some nature here.
Yeah, but they don't really trust us, do they?
Well, you see, that's the thing. That's the thing. And if you don't trust your own, your own nation, then well, anyway. But I think it's the onus is on the nation
to be trustworthy. Yes.
Radio Gold XYZ shut down. Ablakwa salutes Kufuor for upholding media freedom. Okay. Burkina Faso church attack. Priest among the 6 killed. This is a tragic one. Happened just to our north. We really need to start thinking about implications on our own security. Next IGP, how is Ghana handling the fallout of the president's excessive powers? Interesting one there. Joy FM gives mothers special treat at Labadi Beach Hotel. This was so much fun. So much fun.
It was.
Oh boy, can't wait for next year. And Man City retain Premier League title after scare at Brighton. You're not very excited.
Here we go.
Right, hang on. Which team do you support?
It depends.
On what?
On who's winning.
On who Man City is playing. All right. Well, Liverpool. I really.
Well, Liverpool still have one more match to go, right?
Yeah, but I think it's over. I mean, I don't think.
Never say never. I mean, did you miss all the matches last week?
No, they've won it. You see, because Liverpool might win, but I don't think on points they can catch up.
Whatever it is, you'll never walk alone.
You never walk alone. Yes. That's all you care about.
That's all I care about.
Indeed. All right. Well done to Man City and all of its fans. Congratulations to you. And this I hear was a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. Glitz and glamour at John Dumelo's white wedding that happened at Royal St. Star-studded affair. All of the known faces and a few of the unknown ones were there, and it was beautiful. Congratulations to our friend John Dumelo. And if I could, I would buy him a V8. Just to,
I love your if I could.
Yes. All right. Well, anyway, this was fun, right?
It was.
Indeed.
It was. Okay, and so we do it again tomorrow.
Yes,
I am.
Good.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. Anytime. And by the way, sports comes up next. You'll hear a bit more about Man City and Liverpool. And meanwhile, we'll have more reasons to cry. But when we return, what exactly is going on at the Office of the Special Prosecutor? What's happening? And why have we not had an update? The law says we should have one every 6 months. It's been 15 months. So what's going on there? And why are we not being informed? Well, somebody who ought to know a little bit is the chairman of the board. And of course, that's Linda Ofori-Kwafo. So I caught up with her last week. We're going to find out soon what she knows and what she doesn't know. We're back after these.